Army retired Sergeant Joshua Cope lost both legs above the knee and wounded his hands by an IED blast in Baghdad, Iraq. When a soldier goes to war, a family goes to war. We are a local 501c3 charity not affiliated with Wounded Warrior Project. Donations are needed and much appreciated for us to continue the vision to bring hope and healing for the combat wounded warriors and their loved ones. God bless you all, and God bless America.
Hi, we're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that our daughters have what they need to grow and learn. But that isn't the case for nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. that struggle with hunger.
Childhood hunger is a heartbreaking reality that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and provides it to families and children in need.
You can help kids in need in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
WPLQ Port St. Joe, WGSX Lynn. Powered by Panama City Toyota.
ESPN, Northwest Florida.
Let's play the game.
Sports Talk Radio will never be the same.
I just don't think that anybody's going to succeed in that system.
It's a bad organization.
It's just a bad organization.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
Onion pickles, onions pickles.
Live and local.
Look, it's impressive.
On ESPN.
Northwest Florida.
What's going on, Northwest Florida? You guys are now riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, and this is ESPN Northwest Florida 104.3 right here in Panama City and 101.9 in Port St. Joe. I'm David Hayes along with Wright State Chris and the Bone Crusher. Hopefully you guys are having a decent Friday afternoon. The weather is a little bit dreary out there. Looks like we're going to have some weather over the weekend as well, and that could affect the Daytona 500. Much like it was last night in the duels. There was just cars spinning around everywhere. And we'll catch up with RJ Starcevic early next week to find out more about that. He's doing something pretty cool where he's going around to a lot of the drivers and getting them to talk about their expectations for the 2024 NASCAR season. He's going to put something together for us, and we'll play that early next week, because if the weather does affect anything, it looks like they'll be moving the Xfinity Series to Monday. And so we wouldn't have him on Monday when he's trying to sit there and watch the race. We would move that to Tuesday. But hopefully you guys are having a good afternoon. You can call or text us at 850-215-6290. I would say there's a whole lot to talk about today, but there really isn't. So I'm not going to lie to you guys. We'll get into whatever it is that we can. College baseball does start, which is exactly why Wright State, well, there's more than one reason why Wright State Chris is in the building with us, but he is my go-to guy for college baseball, playing there for Wright State. I almost said for Wright State Chris, for the Raiders of Wright State. So we'll get his opinion, his takes on what to look forward to in the college baseball season. Outside of that, really no other guests. We're going to try to have Coach Rory Kuhn on, the ladies Gulf Coast State College head basketball coach over there today at 5:40. Let's get into some of the scores. Wright State Chris, why don't you take the high school scores?
All right, no problem. In 4A regional quarterfinals, we have believe that's pronounced Revolt, 59, Walton 47. So Revolt heads on. Rains 46, South Walton 45. Would have liked to see the end of that game.
Oh, right there. That was close.
Yeah, so South Walton, unfortunately, is done for the year. In 3A regional finals, we have Father Lopez 50, Mariana 73, so Mariana's moving on. The Bulldogs improved to 26-2 and will travel to Episcopal School of Jacksonville on Tuesday, February 20th, for the semifinals. In 1A regional finals, we have Katondale.
There you go.
Yep, yes, sir. 43, Bozeman 35. Unfortunately, Bozeman is out.
Yeah, that's a heartbreaker, man. They had one of the best seasons that they've had, 23-3. I think is going to be their final record on the season, hosting their first ever playoff game. And an 8-point loss at the hands of Cottondale there.
And that's got to be really difficult, too, because I'm sure all those kids grew up playing together. You know, they had a great heck of a year so far. The football team went very far. I'm sure a lot of those kids work out together, so they were there for each other. But, man, 35 points just not going to get it done. Bethlehem 44, Chipley 69. Chipley moves on. Jay 52, Paxton 45, Jay moving on, and then Sneeds 49, Crossroads 62.
We've already talked a little bit about the Rutherford girls throughout the year. We had Shakira Edwards on the line with us. She is going to be headed to Mississippi State. But the other standout guard for the Rams girls basketball team, Nautica Bowie, signed with Pensacola State yesterday evening. She's a 4-year starter for the Rams. She's passed 1,000 career points in her junior season and helping lead the team to 102 wins, and they are still counting those wins. The senior guards averaged over double-digit scoring in all 4 of her seasons on varsity, and she's been to the Elite Eight twice and has the chance this year to lead Rutherford to its first Final Four next week. Pensacola State is where she's headed to, and that is a consistent winning program in the Panhandle Conference, currently ranked number 14 in the NJCAA. Also, when it comes to college baseball, we have our Gulf Coast Commodores right here in our backyard, and they are ranked number 1 in the FCSAA, and they cruised past Shelton State 9-0 in the home opener yesterday afternoon. They had another game today at 1 o'clock against Shelton State. They were 11-1 prior to that game. Let's check later on and see if they moved to 12-1. And for Gulf Coast softball, they took on Iowa Western over there in Gulf Shores, Alabama. Shelby threw a complete game versus Iowa Western, only gave up 3 hits, 2 runs over 7 innings, struck out 7 and walking 2. Peters was 2 of 3 with 2 ribbies. Lee was 2 of 4 with 2 singles, 2 RBIs and 1 run, and Jordan was 2 of 3 with 1 RBI and 1 run. In the second game of the double dip, it was Southern Union. That game only lasted 6 innings. Gulf Coast State College getting the dub 14-6. Barnes had another impressive outing. This time in relief, not starting. She pitched 5 innings, surrendered 2 hits, and gave up 2 runs. 0 of those runs being earned. Also struck out 5 and walked 1. Lee was, I'll say 3 for 3 here. She had 3 singles, 4 RBIs, 2 runs, and 1 stolen base. Jordan was 3 of 4 with 2 singles and 3 runs. Lawrence went 2 for 4, 2 singles and 1 run. Peters was 1 of 3 with 2 RBIs, 1 run. Osterman went 3 runs and had 3 runs and 2 stolen bases. And Kane had a home run in the top of the 5th with 1 RBI. That was a solo shot and her 1 run. We are streaming live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter. You can like and share the Facebook feed and page, and follow us over there on Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. You can download the app and register. It's 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. You got to go to your Google Play Store or your Apple Store. Type in 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Any takeaways from the Super Bowl? I know we beat it to death this week, but we're still on that week right after the Super Bowl. Any takeaways, right, State Chris?
Well, I don't feel bad for Kyle Shanahan, but I want to know what his scores have been at halftime.
For every score, or just for playoff games?
Just those 3 Super Bowls that he's been in. It was okay. It was 20. What was
28-3.
28-3, and then he was ahead of San Fran. With San Fran the first time, I think he was up 10, and then he was up 7. So all told, he was up. What is that, like 30-some points, and has yet to get the job done.
Yeah.
So, and then I feel really bad for the defensive coordinator because, apparently they had to shop somebody, and they just went after him. So I don't get the reasoning there. I'm sure someone that's the San Fran, fan could tell us why, but
there's only one reason and one reason only that you could reason that they would get rid of Steve Wilkes, and that's because we played great in the first half, but the second half we kind of let Mahomes start being Mahomes. Well, he only scored 1 touchdown in the game. Mahomes threw for 1 touchdown, and then the other one was in overtime at that point, which they got to overtime. So to me, it's a total scapegoat move, and the defense, statistically speaking, was better this year throughout the regular season and the postseason than what they were under the great coach who is now with the Houston Texans and DeMeco Ryans.
Yeah, I heard someone talking about it. They made that defense specifically for DeMeco, and this guy comes in with, was he on the team last year? Do you know? I
believe Steve Wilkes moved up the ranks with him. If not, no. He was the interim coach for the Carolina Panthers before they let him go, so he was with the Panthers.
So you bring a guy in who, obviously he's worked his way up to defensive coordinator / / interim head coach, so he knows what he's doing. But you bring a guy in that's never been with this program before, and he leads them to, I mean, he doesn't personally lead them to a Super Bowl, but that defense was pretty stout. You know, they had some issues, but then they clamped down, and, you know, but I feel like the playoffs were kind of like that. Like, it was always the tale of two halves. Like, you know, Kansas City was dominant against the Ravens in the first half, and then the second half was just a complete defensive stonewalling. And then, you know, like, same thing with the Lions. The Lions are dominant in the first half, and then San Fran comes back in the second half. So I think there are a lot of adjustments done. I think it was very good football, you know, only a couple little mistakes here and there, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching all of it. I really liked the halftime show. You know, I don't feel like, you know, like people want to get on Travis Kelce, but, you know, it's like, you know, Andy Reid basically said, dude, there's cameras on me all the time. There's cameras on you all the time, you know, like, you know, and I don't feel like Andy Reid was humiliated, you know, but, you know, everyone can have a different point of view on it. But I feel like the Super Bowl was great. It was fun to watch. It was entertaining. It might have been a little boring at times, 25-22. You'd like to have a little more high scoring, a lot of field goals. But, you know, like, these guys are playing their butts off. This is football at the highest level, and, you know, and guys making plays when they needed to make plays. I felt like we could have given the ball. They could have given the ball a little bit more to Christian McCaffrey, you know, running the ball in the third quarter. And it seems to be like that's Shanahan.
That's his, like, MO. It's like, hey, let's get a lead and let's pass that ball, baby.
Yeah, and you know, and that's not what you need to do against Kansas City. Those cornerbacks are great, you know, and then, you know, like, they were doing a great job of disguising the run, getting them on the outside, getting away from Chris Jones, and then they go away from it. So, I don't know. I don't make millions of dollars to make those decisions. None of us do.
That is you know, that's a fair point there. It's just, and here's the other thing, like, looking at Steve Wilks, it would be different for me if it was any other quarterback that he was losing to or didn't have the greatest game plan in the second half for, which he stopped him. He stopped him in overtime, or he stopped him until overtime to that point. So if it was anyone other than Patrick Mahomes, but I think that you get a pass when it's Patrick Mahomes who is doing what he's done to every single defense. You can game plan as good as you want for the first and the second half. If there is an opening, I don't care what the score is, if there is still time on the clock, Patrick Mahomes is still capable of leading those Kansas City Chiefs down the field and comeback fashion, no matter what, putting the game away, it doesn't matter. So I don't think Steve Wilks should have lost his job for that. And it looked like, or it just looks like it's that scapegoat thing, because everyone's coming after Kyle Shanahan about the overtime, and it's like, you know what, get off of me on the overtime thing, and let's give you guys something else to talk about. Why did I fire my defensive coordinator? So what do you think about the whole overtime situation? Do you think they should have taken the ball, all of that good stuff?
All right, so the only defense I've heard that actually makes sense was that if this was true, and then Shanahan's sticking up for his defense. But if your defense is gassed, you don't want them out there for the first possession. But you weigh that with, you give Patrick Mahomes an extra down. Mm-hmm. You know, like, you have to go for it. You know, like, they're not like, you know, do they go for it on 4th and 1 at the 50-yard line? I forget where the 4th and 1 was, but do you go for it on 4th and 1 if you have the ball first? You know, or do you punt it away? With Patrick Mahomes, maybe you go for it, you know, but, you know, that, who knows? But if the defense was gassed, you know, obviously you want them to get some rest, and San Fran had a very good drive. They had a 1st and 10 at the 14-yard line of the Chiefs. That's where you want them to go. Mm-hmm. But the Chiefs defense clamped down at that point in time. So I don't know. I personally like it. I like seeing more football. It's actual real football. I don't mind it at the 25-yard line like the colleges, but I don't like going for 2-point conversions because there's so much fluky things that can happen, you know? Like, you're giving them one play to go 3 yards, and I don't know. I just don't like it once you get to the 2-point conversions. But I like the new rules. I was a little confused at first. I was like, wait, what? Even if they score a touchdown, the other team still gets the ball? Okay, you know, but and is there an issue with San Fran not necessarily knowing the rules? Only yes, because Patrick Mahomes said, we knew exactly what was going to happen. If we score a touchdown and they score a touchdown, we're going for 2.
Yeah.
You know, just that mindset, knowing what they needed to do. And I'm not saying that, but every little thing can help you win a game, especially when you're an NFL team.
And Juice, so I'm going to go off of the mic'd up that I heard last night from all of the players. And Mahomes, like you just mentioned, like they knew if they won the toss, they were going to kick it. The 49ers, when they won the toss, they called tails again, won the toss, and Juice after that says, man, like, they get an opportunity. I didn't know that they're getting an opportunity after this. So even if we go down and score a touchdown, they get an opportunity. So he already felt like he was in the wrong there. Then you have the Chiefs who are getting pumped up at the fact that the 49ers played right into their hand exactly what they wanted to do. Spags is in the meeting before they go on the field. Like, they just gave us what we wanted. Let's go make a stop and go down and score, and let's win the Super Bowl. And Travis Kelce. And for those of you who think the game is scripted, why are guys going to be sitting there talking, regardless if they're mic'd up, about, look, man, this just played into our favor. Let's use this to our advantage. Like, unless we're going to start watching movies on these things, like, I don't understand why guys are going to get so hyped up about a coin toss if it's already supposed to go that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so then I have the other, or not, I wouldn't even say the other, but I heard Kurt Warner talking about it, and he's like, you don't need, you should take, what did he say? Treat it like it's any other overtime and just go down and score. And it's like, Kurt, like, you're canceling out what it is that you're saying, though, because the whole point of it is still, even if you go down and score, the other team has an opportunity. Now, I like the way that Kyle Shanahan put it. The reason that we would want the ball is because, all right, if we go down and score and then you go down and score, then we have the first opportunity to actually end the game. Now, I'm not a big fan of how they've got the whole quarters of overtime. Like, I don't see how that makes much sense. Just leave the clock out of overtime if we're going to be worried more about possessions than we are the amount of time that's on the clock.
Well, here's my point on that, and I just thought about it for a second. Like, if you're not talking about the Super Bowl where the field is neutral and you're usually inside a dome, but let's say we're in Kansas City and it's negative 20 degrees and the wind's blowing one way or the other. You know, like, you can use that to the advantage. You know, like, we're going to kick this way, maybe it switches back. You know, like, the side of the field matters in a lot of games. Super Bowl, it doesn't, because you're usually if you're in a dome, there's no elements, and there's no louder part of the stadium, like in college. You got the kids
student section.
Yeah, exactly. So I get it. Like, it should just be untimed, but it's just like. I don't know. I feel like they really haven't practiced it a lot. This is the first time we've seen it in action.
In a Super Bowl, absolutely. It's the first time that we've seen it, and it is it's one of those things that they'll polish, and the Chiefs are the entire reason that they made it like this, because of that Chiefs-Bills game, so nobody's going to know those rules better than the Kansas City Chiefs do, because when you make a rule to stop someone, they're going to study those rules better than anyone else. They're the reason for the rules. So it is, and my thing is, I don't care. Like, if you want to put if you want to put time on the clock for overtime, I'm fine by that. But that time should matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and I felt like it affected the San Francisco 49ers defense, because I don't know this. It's just like watching it, and the clock is ticking down 7, 6, 5. The Chiefs snap it around like 4 seconds, and you don't see any of the 49ers really moving. I think that they thought that the Chiefs were going to wait until time expired to run the next play.
Watching it, I kept on thinking like one part of my brain was like, it's not going to be game over, right? It's not going to end. So, but then my other part of my brain's like, it can't end. I know that they have to, like, the rules never stated time at all. So I feel like all those different elements. Remember, like 7 years ago or 8 years ago, Bill Belichick had the scheme where he's reporting an eligible receiver as ineligible against the Ravens. So you're just throwing more like things in their head just to throw them off of what they're thinking. I feel like that was happening to San Francisco. They kept on like I'm thinking about it, so their players are probably thinking about it, especially if they don't know the rules. So it's like the more things in their head that aren't focused on what, like, oh, if Kelce does this and then McCole Hardman does that, like, the more thing to throw them off. I feel like it definitely, if they didn't know the rules, if they didn't know what was going on, it was definitely going to be in their heads and affect them more. Because as a hitter, sorry, I'm going to go back to baseball, but you want to be focused on what you're doing. You have your game plan up there. You want to attack it, like you're facing, as my head coach called it, like when you're facing balls 93 miles per hour faster, it's called tic-tacs. They look like tic-tacs coming at you. And so I've only seen that a handful of times. Not saying I've seen it a lot, but like you want to go up there with your idea of what's happening with your game plan. You want to attack it. So the more you think about that, like you step on a pebble in the batter's box and you start thinking about that pebble. You're not thinking about what's going on.
Your mind's off the task at hand.
Exactly. So they needed to be focused, and I feel like they obviously weren't. And then as a result of this, defensive coordinator gets fired.
Yeah, all of this just to talk about the defensive coordinator getting fired. That is wild, man. Well, Tiger Woods yesterday shot a 1/72 in the first round at the Genesis Invitational, and he is the host of that. He did have a shank on 18, and a lot of people were like, oh, Tiger's just like us. He's been like us for a while now, guys. Outside of, what was it, 2019? Was that the
18 or 19?
18, 19 at the Masters.
Yeah.
And so he pulled out. He withdrew today, struggling a little bit, and he's saying it's because of illness. So yesterday it was back spasms. Today it's illness. I just wonder if he's sick of playing bad golf. So no, hey, I'm poking a little bit of fun. It's almost, to some extent, it's kind of sad seeing it play out like this. When you start seeing the great struggle, like Tom Brady went out on top, right? We never really saw a huge drop off with LeBron James still playing as some of the best. He's one of the best athletes in the NBA still, and you can even go look at the Golden State Warriors. Klay Thompson, who was pushed to the bench, and then last night drops 35 points. But it is one of those things, it stinks to kind of see those guys who are at the top of the game for a long time start to struggle. I think the next question is, because he says he's going to play one tournament a month, is when does he or will he go to the Champions Tour? Or would he try out Live before all of that? That would be interesting.
I don't know if he'd want to go to the Champions Tour. I mean, I know he still wants to play golf and he still wants to make money, but I feel like he's going to try to play on tour till he's at least 60, and he's just going to keep on grinding. And maybe he pulls out a win in the Open Championship if the wins are behind his back. It was a couple years ago. I forget the guy's name, but he was in his 60s, and he made it to he was in the last pairing, and he. Tom Watson, I think it was, and he made it to the last pairing. So I like seeing Tiger have to grind and not just dominate. If you remember everything before 2008, it was just domination. But you're also seeing these new golfers are studs now. They're athletic specimens. And Tiger created that. So yeah, a lot of American golfers and a lot of European golfers have a lot to thank Tiger for. But it is sad. But if he wins another major, you know how much ratings and how much accolades and just he's never going to reach Jack, now, but because his body's just wearing down. But I like seeing him have to grind, because then you get to see, I realize his mental toughness is up here, but it's a different type of toughness when you have to grind as opposed to just being perfect. So I don't know. I feel sorry for him, but it's his body's gone through a lot. All
right, we're going to take a quick timeout. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. Give us a call at 850-215-6290.
ESPN Northwest Florida presents the most college basketball.
Three-pointer, push it in. College basketball is back.
The Panhandle's destination for live play-by-play.
The SEC, ACC, and beyond.
Oh, you saw that coming,
Rambo. The biggest games play right here.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna with your weather forecast from ESPN Northwest Florida on this Friday. Lightly sprinkling and cloudy the rest of the day with a wind at 6 miles per hour coming out of the south and 63. Tonight, look for a light breeze and very light showers with a temperature near 59. Tomorrow, a high around 63 and raining moderately. Sunday, warm with a high of 57 and some clouds. This weather forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
In the jewelry business, there is no substitute for experience. David Adamson has over 46 years of experience, 32 of those in Lynn Haven. Designing and creating fine jewelry is more than a job for David, it's a joy. If you're looking for a spectacular jewelry design that says you, or perhaps you need your jewelry repaired, look no further than David Adamson Designer Jewelry. All work is done in-house and always to your complete satisfaction. Stop in today at David Adamson Designer Jewelry, 830 Ohio Avenue in Lynn Haven. They're on Facebook and at tcjeweler.com.
It's time to pick your path and go big and go bold from Bill Burr Kia. You can drive away in a brand new 2024 Telluride from Bill Burr Kia. The 2024 Telluride protects what matters, and it's built for the long haul. Its technology will connect with confidence, and its upscale, all-around rugged look will take you on to the next adventure. The road is yours. Bill Burr Kia, the home of the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by and see us today at 2435 East 15th Street or BillBurrKia.com.
He likes to lift weights in a parking lot and eat Weight Gainer 3000.
I'm really starting to feel out nasty.
David Hayes is part of the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs in the doghouse. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. Talk a little Major League Baseball here. If you guys got anything for Wright State Chris to comment on, then send it over to 850-215-6290. Looks like Whit Merrifield and the Phillies have agreed to a 1-year deal there. Who's the favorite for you to win the World Series this year?
Well, hate to say it, but without Shohei pitching, as we saw last year, it's about pitching at the right time and clutch hitting. Whoever's got Corey Seager, that's
there you go. So the Rangers did.
Yeah. No, I obviously got to go with the Braves. If their arms can stay healthy at the right time of the year, because they got such a potent offense, and it's really fun watching them play. But you can't count out. I don't know what the Diamondbacks are going to be like this year. I really like that rookie of the year last year. He was amazing, and just if they're able to keep on that. But baseball's such a hard sport to know who's going to be hot at the right time. Because you can peak too early, and then
Braves 2 years in a row.
Exactly. Let's hold the World Series in June, and then we'll just not play any games after that. But the Braves, the Dodgers, all the Astros still, all the regular people, the usual suspects. But so let's go. I'm just going to go Seattle. I don't know anything about them. But I'm just going to throw $5 on a futures for Seattle.
What about the Orioles, though? Do you believe in what it is that they're building over there? 2 years of straight progression, adding an ace in Corbin Burns. Do you believe that the Orioles could be a team that can make that deep run and win the Fall Classic?
I just remember last year listening to the Braves play the Orioles, and it seemed like they had a really difficult time with them. It was at the beginning of the year, but I know the Orioles, it seemed like the middle of that lineup just could not get out. So I do like the Orioles. I mean, look, they followed the blueprint of the Astros, except for the cheating part. Get number 1 overall picks, make sure that the right number 1 overall picks, and then you can go from there. But I mean, they've got so much talent. Their shortstop, are they going to replace him with Jackson, or are they going to trade? Something's got to give. We eventually traded Vaughn Grissom.
Yeah.
So someone on their team, you can't just keep those guys down. You want them to play. So you could either trade them for some, picks or whatever. But I do like the Orioles. They've got so much talent. It's going to be impossible to keep them down. But the East, they just spend so much money. Like Boston and New York, and then, the Rays are always good.
The Rays are always good without spending the money.
Yeah, exactly. They have the right blueprint for what they do, though. And then, I think it was they never signed a pitcher over 30 years old. Mm-hmm. They'd always get rid of them by that time. And then, but the Blue Jays are good, too. They got a lot of young talent there, too. So I think that both Easts are going to be very difficult. But, I think the Orioles, if they make it to the playoffs, they might struggle in the playoffs because did they make it last year? I don't remember.
The Orioles?
Yeah.
They did make it.
But then they just lost the first round. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that'll be a valuable experience.
It was like all the favorites in the first round went down, and then it was just a wild mash in the divisional round because you had the Phillies taking down or what? The Dodgers went down, Braves went down.
Yep.
So it was the Phillies taking down the Braves, Diamondbacks taking down the Dodgers, and you had the Diamondbacks and the Phillies in the National League Championship, and even in the others, because it was the Rangers and the Astros in the ALCS.
Yeah. So the Rangers took down somebody that they probably weren't supposed to. I mean, twice, obviously, 3 times actually. Mm-hmm. But
Rangers took down the Rays, I believe.
Okay.
And I'm trying to remember who it was that the Orioles faced in the first round.
Yeah, because there's 8 teams now, or something to that effect. Or
seven on each side. Yeah.
So, but that's invaluable experience. Just getting to the playoffs. They talk about
the Rangers.
Yeah,
the Rangers.
Yeah, you hear guys talk about leverage pitches, pitches that are more important than other ones, in different counts and whatnot. But every pitch in the playoff is an important one. It's not like it's some throwaway game in early May, on a day before they're about to take off on a road trip like West Coast or something like that. Every pitch is important. Every pitch can lead to a rally. Mm-hmm. And you saw that, you see that with the Phillies a lot, you get one of their guys hot and the next guy's hot, and they always say hitting's contagious. So I think this is really important for the Orioles just to get to the playoffs and know that they can do it. And now that they know they can do it, I think they can go from there. And I know Leanne's husband is a big Orioles fan.
Yeah, Cecil.
Yep. And so hopefully for them, I saw you rocking the Orioles hat the other day. Yep. It was a different color, though.
It was one of those St. Patrick Day hats or whatever, because I'm a baseball fan, Major League Baseball first. Even though I've loved the Braves my whole life, I love on-field hats. Yeah. And even though that's kind of more of a spring training type deal, and then also, so for each of my softball teams, or whenever I would play on a softball team, I would just get a hat that matched the jersey or whatever. Okay. So what I do, my methodology is by going to Lids at the end of the year or whatever, and you can get all these fitteds for $10.
Oh, really?
So it's
That's cool.
It makes a whole lot more sense.
Yeah. So, but other than that, I don't really have any dark horses.
A dark horse for me, if you don't have any, a dark horse for me is going to be the Cubbies. Okay. Because of bringing in Craig Counsell. I think they're a piece away, not from a World Series run, but just kind of that, maybe not to the magnitude of the Diamondbacks, because I can't see anyone on their roster who's that Corbin Carroll guy, and you see how invaluable those guys who are 5-tool players and what they can do for you, because you mentioned something earlier, that spark, that rally. Well, sometimes that spark can happen from a stolen base. Yeah. Sometimes that spark can happen from coming back in a 3-2 count and getting the walk. The sparks come from everywhere in the game of baseball, and that's why those throwaway games in May, teams who look at it like that, there's a reason why they're throwing their teams away in the postseason, because there is no throwaway games, man. You're talking about playing 162. It's a marathon. Yes, I'll give you that, but when you're losing divisions by one game, then that game mattered earlier.
Yeah.
So
I remember I went to Eastern Michigan for 2 years before I went to Wright State, and Jim Leland was just coming on as the manager when the Tigers had their run back when Miggy just got there, and then who's the pitcher I'm thinking of right now? The guy for the he's with the Mets, and then he went to the
Verlander.
Yeah, Verlander when he came up with the Tigers. I remember they had the worst record in baseball 2 years before that. Leland comes in, and they were about to go on a long road trip, and it was a throwaway game, and they got their butts kicked. Leland laid into them and said, "We're not going to have that here. Mm-hmm. This isn't a throwaway game." And they went to 2 World Series after that. Didn't win either of them, but they went to 2 World Series after that.
But they were there, man. Exactly. One of the final 2 teams out of 30, and that's one of the things, one of my issues with the Braves is they had Braves last year and even the year before, they had such a potent offense, and then down the stretch, you're playing, like Caveman Rick has stated multiple times, you're playing to you meaningless games because you've already won the division. You basically got the number 1 seed all the way wrapped up. And so you're going into the final part of the season where other teams are making that push to get into the postseason. So they're playing their hardest that they possibly can, where the Braves are more focused on, hey, let's get Ronald Acuna Jr. that record. Let's get this guy that record. They're more focused on individual aspects of it rather than the team being as hot as they possibly can.
Do you think the Braves are too nice? As an organization? Snit and, you know, and all those guys, like, they just want to have a good time? Do you feel like sometimes they need to have the butt, you know, like, I'm going to say another word, but they need to be a little mean sometimes?
Well, without being in the clubhouse with Snitker and them and knowing, like, kind of how that goes, I think you can make the argument for that, but I don't know what his actual managerial style is, because you don't see a lot of that from him. But we do know that he's an old school guy, so you would have to think. And from what I've heard from like guys like Jay Chapman, guys who have been in there, that's normally the last thing that a manager is going to do is lay into you, unless it's in his office, because it's and maybe that's what the issue is. Who is that guy that used to be Freddie Freeman? Because when the Braves won in 2021, there was no Ronald Acuna Jr. out there on that field.
Yeah, exactly.
Talent can take you wherever, but until there's that guy that says, hey, bud, what's on the front of your jersey means more than what's on the back of your jersey. And we saw a little bit of that from Acuna last year, not necessarily with the front of the jersey, back of the jersey deal, but with Orlando Arcia getting heckled by some fans there in Philadelphia. And Orlando Arcia is more worried about the fans than he is what's taking place on the field. And so Ronald kind of reined him in, but I think that could be one of the issues, right? There's not a guy in the locker room who's going to push people's buttons and be like, hey, are you more worried about having a smile on your face, or do you want to have a smile on your face because we put in a whole lot of work and are hoisting that trophy up at the end of the year?
I feel like the dude that needs to take over that team is Harris.
Michael Harris?
Yeah, and just from a mental standpoint, you know, he's got the talent, he's young. But you know, like, because I heard the saying, you know, like, Chipper learned from so and so. You know, you could pick any of those guys like Terry Pendleton, any of those dudes, and then Chipper taught Freeman how to do it right, and then Freeman was teaching Dansby and them. But those guys, you know, it's like
they're not there no more. Yeah,
you know, so like I realize it's a dollars and cents thing, but you know, like those guys that learned from the previous generation that were there in the clubhouse aren't there anymore. So you know, we can him and Ha and do this and that. You know, I don't want to take anything away from the Phillies because they have, I think, the best home field advantage when it comes to the playoffs. Like, that stadium is just raucous. But I feel like Harris needs to be that leader there to get everybody going. And you know, and I'd say pitchers, but it's just like, you know, you don't know who's going to be there right now. You know, like Fried's going to be gone. You know, Morton's going to be retired. I mean, Morton's as old as I am. I'm turning 40 my next birthday, you know, and Morton's like a year younger than I am. So Morton's not going to be there very much longer. They got rid of Kyle Wright, right?
Yeah.
And Anderson, you know, Ian Anderson, he's not what he was. So it's just.
He's gone too. I believe he's with the Tigers.
Oh, wow. So, you know, like they had that strong core back in the 90s, and obviously, you know, like money's a big thing, but it's just, you got to have someone that's willing just to like put his feet in the ground and just be like, no, we're not going to do this. But baseball is a completely different sport when it comes to that, because you can get too high, you can get too low, and then it's just like, oh God, you know.
And yeah, because of that marathon, there is that, like, all right, well, because you can't just every time that someone is low, like, hey, this is the goal, this is the goal. Like, I guess you got to let them work through that, especially in a game of failures like baseball is, where you're going to go through stretches where you don't even believe that you're bringing anything to the team. And that's a dangerous thing, though, because when you get down on yourself so much to the point that you're thinking, I'm not bringing anything to this team, just because you're a part of the team, is where it's not about what you're doing or what you're bringing to the team, because there's going to be some days, and this is a huge thing from baseball, right? What's something where you strike out? What do you say when you go to the dugout to the guy who's, or like you're walking by the guy who's on the on-deck circle? What do you say to him? Pick me up.
Yeah.
Pick me up. You know what I'm saying?
And
that's exactly.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things. And I think that sometimes it's hard not to be that in our human nature, to be focused on what it is that we're doing wrong, rather than, you know, like, hey, the team's going to pick me up here.
Yeah.
That's a hard feat to accomplish.
And that's where coaching really does come into play. Like, you know, trying to get you those, you know, like, football coaches, you know, to get a quarterback that's been struggling, you know, off the schneid, so to say, like they'll give them an easy pass to complete or something. So, you know, some guys that are struggling at bat, you know, like even guys that are hitting the ball hard right at people, you know, they've got the right approach, but still it's just like you feel like you're letting the team down because, you know, you're not producing, you're not getting on base and everything. And every once in a while, you get like the coach's got to come in and give them a win somehow, some way, get them a win. I remember a couple of things. We had a guy named Ken Ravizza. He's passed away, but he was a sports psychologist, and he worked with a couple of different things. He worked with the All Blacks from New Zealand before, like the rugby. Yeah. Who, they're every 4 years. Imagine only being judged every 4 years. Anyways. He talked about how some major league players, as soon as and I know Jay Chapman talked about it, different triggers, triggering negative memories, but like they would see the scoreboard and immediately just get depressed, because it's just tough out there. It's a game of failure, like you said. Another thing that he talked about was the fact I lost it on this one, but there was a backup catcher. He played at USC. He was in the big leagues for a while. He used to watch his highlight tape before every game, and it had U2, A Beautiful Day, in the background, just to pump himself up, because you gotta do those little tricks sometimes. Fake it till you make it.
That's my morning routine.
That's your morning routine. There we go.
Yeah. I listened before I do my accounting job. I gotta start listening to Metallica.
There you go. Or what is it? Pink Floyd Money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Gotta call these people. Where's my money?
Where's my money, man? Hey, you need to come work for us. Where's my money, man?
Exactly. But you gotta do what you gotta do, because hitting a baseball, like I said, hitting the baseball is the hardest thing to do in sports, and you don't get rewarded for it very often, and there are so many things that can go wrong for you that it's just you gotta keep yourself pumped up somehow, some way.
Somehow, some way, and a great way is to create a highlight reel of whatever it is that you do in your life. Put some music behind it that you like, and start your day with that every single day. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. Quick timeout. We'll be right back with a little trivia question.
ESPN Northwest Florida. The Afternoon Underdogs.
I don't think that many fans really honestly care about these players making money, and they should be allowed to make money off of their name, image, and likeness. Now, with it being and I'm using the air quotes here, amateur sport, it shouldn't be paid to play. Yeah, there you go. But it should not be,
4 to 6 weekdays. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna with your weather forecast from ESPN Northwest Florida on this Friday. Lightly sprinkling and cloudy the rest of the day with a wind at 6 miles per hour coming out of the south and 63. Tonight, look for a light breeze and very light showers with a temperature near 59. Tomorrow, a high around 63 and raining moderately. Sunday, warm with a high of 57 and some clouds. This weather forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Discover Kia at Bill Bird Kia. Stop by Bill Bird Kia during the President's Day sales event going on now and drive away the new 2024 Kia. Now offering 4.25% APR up to 48 months on the purchase of a new 2024 Kia Sportage. You get the perfect balance of comfort, safety, and technology. Bill Bird Kia is the home of the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by and see us at 2435 East 15th Street or anytime at BillBirdKia.PanamaCity.com. We'll treat you like family and give you the peace of mind you can trust.
Offer from Kia Finance America for the purchase of a new 2024 Kia Sportage with $2,267 per month per 1,000 financed at 48 months. Quantities limited. No down payment required. Cannot be combined with other finance offers. The 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty is a Bill Bird Kia warranty. See dealer for complete details. Offer for well-qualified buyers. Must take delivery from dealer stock through 3/4/24.
Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs.
This 53-man roster is stupid.
Where it's halftime all the time.
Raise the rosters, you cheapskate owners, and get that done now.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
$5 a pop. It's cheaper than Uber. You can send that to my Venmo.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back. This is the Afternoon Underdogs. You're tuned in to ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 right here in Panama City and 101.9 in Port St. Joe. You can call or text us at 850-215-6290. Brian Graham, go Caitlin Clark, and the Hawkeyes. That was special to watch her and her whole career. She's only, 98 points away from Pistol Pete. Hit a logo 3 to take the record last night. good for her. Good for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Yeah.
If I don't know, I'm not gonna take anything away from Caitlin Clark.
Take it away from her.
No. But if Pistol Pete or Jerry West had a 3-point line, I would love to see like what they would have done. But obviously defenses are different. I'm not going to compare eras, even though I am comparing eras. I would love to see what those guys would have been able to score if they had a 3-point line,
Oh, absolutely. Different games and everything. And Caitlin Clark really does deserve, how good that shot is. There's no denying that. It's going to be interesting to see what she does at the WNBA level, because we've had a lot of these girls come through, in college. And that's kind of one of the differences. Like, you look at the NFL, there's a lot of great college players who never really panned out in the NFL. And I don't know this for a fact, but it seems like all the girls that I've heard a lot of things about in college basketball have gone on to have very successful WNBA careers as well. So that translates very well. It'll be interesting to see if she starts knocking down some of those records in the WNBA.
I think it's awesome, though, that she is the main story in sports right now.
Yeah.
And it's great for her. It's great for all the female athletes coming up. That, like the hottest ticket in sports right now is an Iowa women's basketball game. Would you ever think that you were going to say, it's crazy.
Not
it's
even
crazy.
Really, to be honest with you, and I don't mean this in a mean way, but like the women's college basketball game and the explosion that it's having, I gotta be honest, I enjoy watching the female tournament just as much as the men's now, just because that's the brand of basketball that it is that I grew up playing, and so let's move the ball to get to the hoop. You know what I mean? It's not just about, hey, yo, come out here and guard me. Let's play a little ISO, which is, like a backyard ball, and they're very athletic, but it is one of those things that the girls' game, and it's not just Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark took the torch and has carried it well, but some of the coaches, and it's not just UConn every year, and I think that's a big thing. When you've got one team winning, we're seeing it in college football with Alabama for a while now. They're off the pedestal, and it's kind of it's Georgia's world, and we're just living in it. But hey, who's the champion right now? Michigan's the champion until we crown another one. So good for them to kind of break things up. And also, good for Harbaugh to get one for his alma mater, because I never thought that was going to happen. But yes, the game of girls basketball is in great hands, and look what we've got right here in our own backyard at Gulf Coast State College, the number one team in the NJCAA, and they beat the number one team 2 weeks ago, Northwest Florida State, and just absolutely crushed the number one seed to become the new number one. And even beyond that, they lose their top player. I think about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. It was last Wednesday. They lost their best player to a knee injury, had 5 girls foul out, and they still go to overtime with only 3 players on the floor. We've got a really good team right here, and I would encourage you, if you like the sport of basketball, to go check out the men and women's over there at Gulf Coast State College. They're on the road this week in Pensacola, but they should be back. I think they're back in town next Saturday. It'll be interesting to see what the future holds for Ozzy Mamadou, who injured her knee. I don't think she was playing in the game last Wednesday against Tallahassee, where they won 93-48 or something like that.
I'd encourage, the closest, big sports we have around here, obviously you can go to Tallahassee. I've seen a couple baseball games in Tallahassee. I love that stadium. Auburn's 3 hours away, something like that.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. Never been to Auburn. But no, if you can get out to Gulf Coast, the highest level of sports around here in our community is at Gulf Coast. And apparently the baseball team is doing great right now. They're ranked really very high, and softball is doing well. I know that we've got minor league, baseball and hockey in Pensacola, but in our area, Gulf Coast is the preeminent, location for higher end athletics, and a lot of kids go on to go to SEC schools or ACC schools or even mid-level Division I schools.
Jack Reynolds, who's on the Gulf Coast State College baseball team, is actually a transfer. I believe he walked on at Clemson and he transferred down to Gulf Coast, and he's a home run hitter. So there's plenty of good reasons. That's a great point too. Like that is I don't want to say it's the peak of our sports, but that we've got four really good programs, about to add in the cross country team over there as well. So hey, we're maybe a decade away from football, but who knows? When we get there, we might get there. I would love to. I mean, I don't care what level of baseball it would be. I would love a single. Give me a high, low A team. I don't care. Double A. I think it would be really cool to have a team in this area.
I feel like the community is definitely growing, and we definitely have the people around to support a team, and I feel like it would definitely be supported. And you can put that, would you put it close to the beach? I mean, I don't know if you can. Would you put it like beyond the public sports complex out there? I don't know how marshy that land is, but I feel like we could definitely support a team. I feel like the alcohol sales would be through the roof because we just have such a... that's what I love about minor league stadiums. They always have those different, like Thirsty Thursdays or like free hot dog Tuesday, something, but...
I question if we would be able to... not if we would be able to, if we would support a team. I question that because a lot of our businesses are taken care of by tourists and stuff. And I'm not trying to be mean here. It's just like we've got some good programs over there at Gulf Coast, and I've been there a time or two. Like it's not packed out over there. So I question if we really would support that. I almost wonder, and I'm not trying to be mean, I'm trying to be honest and observant, and I wonder if a team like the Savannah Bananas would do better here. That's more of like an entertainment value, more so than what a double A baseball team or a single A baseball team would do.
That's a good point. I just know that, we love our sports around here, and that just looking on the wall, like you could talk to one person, like you're not going to find the same people that like all the same teams, no matter if hey, you like Alabama and X, Y, and Z, but you don't like the Yankees, or you don't like you like the Pacers. You know what I'm saying? So everyone around here, I've lived in such homogenized communities where
I love that. That was good.
where it's just like everybody likes the same teams. I lived in Ohio, so it was like everyone was Ohio State, and then you were either Bengals or Browns. That was the only difference. Yeah. And around here, I feel like if we could come together around the same, it's even high schools. Like we've got so many different high schools. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying like everyone roots for a different team. Everyone roots for different things, and what makes it awesome. But I feel like we could come together around a single team and support it.
I'm not disagreeing with you that we could.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if we would, though. Is that's kind of the difference there, is would we do that? And it's almost one of those things that I would love to see it happen, because I think that we would. I think that we would come together to support a common team. And then here's the other thing. When is baseball season? Right here in the middle of our tourist season. So it's not like we've got to go and everyone from Panama City and everyone from like the surrounding areas are coming to check it out. And I it's been a while since I've been to a Blue Wahoos game. So, or actually, no, never been to a Blue Wahoos game. So I wonder what the attendance is like that. I've been to a couple of, Biloxi Shuckers games, and it wasn't packed out over there, but that's again at the end of the day, like you said, it's that community feel that makes those minor league baseball games so much fun. Now I do think, here's one thing I question whether we would support, but I think that we have the people in this area that if they were given the job to grow it, I think that we've got a really good community support. I mean, obviously we've seen it from COVID. We've seen it from Hurricane Michael. There's no doubt about this community's togetherness and banding together in a time of need. So I think if you give the right people the tasks to push this forward, to push something like this forward, I think it could be very valuable for our area.
I feel like we definitely have the support system. We have the iHeart PC, we have the iHeart PCB. We have two huge different support groups that put so many wonderful things together. You know, like look at all the baseball tournaments that happened at Frank Brown. Look at the junior college tournament that happened at the Public Sports Complex. You've got Gulf Coast Jam, you know, different jams that happen. You've got the Scottish Festival that happens out at Frank Brown as well. You've got so many things that happen in town too, and you've got all these different things. I feel like you could put out the word that, you know, and you know, and just look at our high school sports. Like baseball is so popular around here. I've never been.
Yeah.
I hate to say I've never been to a high school baseball game. I'm going to go to a high school softball game. A lady I work with, her daughter plays for North Bay Haven JV team. She's in 6th grade. She's playing for the JV team.
Yeah.
And so I'm definitely going to go to a softball game this year. But there's so many people that love sports around here. My parents, when they come down here from Ohio, they go to Patches. And you go to Patches and person A likes this team, person B likes that team. They all like different. There's so many people that love sports down here, just absolutely love sports. And then that's the cool thing too with a minor league team is that like,
guy gets hurt and then he comes down.
Well, no, but you know, like, so-and-so played for LSU last year and he was a 3rd-round draft pick. He's playing low A ball in Panama City Beach this year, you know? So there's the name brand recognition with them and, you know, and we'll be able to follow those guys more because, you know, like, minor league baseball is for those players, it's difficult to get out of it. So, like, you know, the more support they can have, the better. So it's just like I feel like we do a great job of knowing who these players were more than not, is my point on that one.
Who do you think, or which side of the bridge do you think it would be better on? Because when we talk about the tourist side of it, it would make sense that it would be on the beach side. But I mean, traffic's already bad enough during spring break and during the summertime. Adding something like that could just make it. Oof.
I'm drawn two different ways on this. One, like I've seen minor league parks that have amazing backdrops. You know, like you would love to be able to get the bay or the ocean or something, you know, in the background. I've also seen a minor league field in Fort Wayne, the Fort Wayne Tin Caps, where it's just rural. You know, it's like there's nothing around it. It's just that's where it is. That's where it's going to be, and you know, there's nothing aesthetic around it. I would hope that, like, you would be able to get the backdrop in there somehow of some of our more beautiful scenery, but obviously wherever it makes the most sense. I feel like we have more land that's usable on, you know, someone could tell me.
Townside?
Yeah, townside. But someone could tell me I'm wrong. You know,
for sure.
But I feel like the most land we have on the beach side is above, you know, Back Beach, you know, or north of Back Beach, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But I realize that land's a lot more difficult to navigate. But you're exactly right on the infrastructure. Is like there's not enough roads on the beach, and we see that every summer we see that.
And that's why I think that a team like the Savannah Bananas or something like that could maybe do a little bit better than what a specifically minor league baseball team would do. But again, it would be really nice to just have the opportunity. It would be nice to or at least to think about something like this. But also with the way that baseball has kind of regionalized their farm league teams, that's another thing. Who would Panama City be a farm league for when we're only 2.5 hours away from Pensacola at that point?
And the other thing too is like if we had like after in like Kentucky and in Ohio, there's a bunch of independent teams. And for those that don't know what independent teams are, they're professional baseball players. They get paid, but they're not affiliated with a big league squad. So like you have the Florence Freedom, which is just across the bridge into Kentucky. There's a bunch of other ones, but that's the only one that I'm very familiar with. You could do that, but you'd actually need the independent league around here, and it's something that you can't just make one team. You'd have to have multiple teams, you know. So you could have an independent team, but like you said, we don't have a league around here for that. But I feel like that would also be feasible if we had the structure in place.
The infrastructure. Brian says, since we're on the subject of baseball, pay attention to Iowa's pitching phenom, Brody Brecht. His pitches reach 100 miles an hour, and they are nasty. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. For real, trivia coming up next and on this day. We'll be right back.
Hobby Takeover with Todd. Mondays at 5:20 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
That is a very high-end card and very rare.
Todd talks about coins, trading cards, collectibles, and the amazing stories behind them.
It was the first one that's ever come through my door.
Plus, we'll be taking your calls and questions at 850-215-6290. The PCB Hobby Takeover.
A platform for you to do your hobby.
Mondays at 5:20 on the Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna with your weather forecast from ESPN Northwest Florida on this Friday. Lightly sprinkling and cloudy the rest of the day with a wind at 6 miles per hour coming out of the south and 63. Tonight, look for a light breeze and very light showers with a temperature near 59. Tomorrow, a high around 63 and raining moderately. Sunday, warm with a high of 57 and some clouds. This weather forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hey there, business owners. Do you feel lost in a sea of numbers, struggling to navigate your day-to-day accounting? At Lighthouse CPAs, they specialize in guiding businesses to make more money and keep more of what you make. From bookkeeping to tax planning, they've got you covered. Plus, with their user-friendly software, managing your finances has never been easier. Spend less time on paperwork and more time growing your business. Call Lighthouse CPAs 850-785-5254.
WPLQ Port St. Joe, WGSX Lumen. Powered by Panama City Toyota.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Hi folks, I'm Tracy from Tracy's Fine Jewelry. Shopping for the perfect diamond can be difficult, but that's why I've trained my staff to offer you a stress-free diamond experience. Me and my I Do crew have 50 years experience, and we have more certified diamonds in stock at the best prices in town. So if you're tired of high-pressure salespeople, come see me, your diamond girl, and my I Do crew at Tracy's Fine Jewelry, because we don't work on commissions. We work for smiles and I Do's.
We don't sell the steak.
You can stir this all up.
We sell the sizzle. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs.
Very spicy.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is our number 2. You're tuned in to ESPN Northwest Florida. It's 104.3 right here in Panama City and a 101.9 in Port St. Joe. I just want to remind you guys that you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. Wayne Gretzky and Michael Scott said that, and we have our very own Michael Scott on the line with us. Coach Mike, how's it going?
Good. How are you guys doing today?
Oh, man, we're doing great. Blessed to be here. Thanks so much for your text earlier, but you have a comment on Caitlin Clark versus Pete Maravich. What you got for us, Coach?
Yes, absolutely. Obviously, I am a huge Caitlin Clark fan. I know you're allowing this kind of discussion today, and I appreciate it. I've seen her play 3 times this year live. Wow. But Pete Maravich, in his 3 years, obviously had no three-point line, but he only played 3 years because when he was a freshman at LSU, freshmen could not play varsity. Back then, the JV would play a separate game, and when he was on the JV team, they would have 10,000 people at the game, and then everybody would leave because they didn't want to watch the varsity game. But however, he averaged 44.3 points a game and only played 83 NCAA ball games. So that's pretty incredible. Not to discount her, but that is quite a feat.
Absolutely, Coach. I mean, and what I was thinking about this earlier when we were talking about it, it would be interesting to see if there was a shot chart out there on the time that Pete Maravich spent there at LSU and how many of those shots that he attempted would have been three-pointers.
That's exactly right. I have read various data points about that, and they talk about him averaging in the high 50s, which is almost, 44.3 for a college career is almost impossible to imagine, but that would be incredible. But anyway, just wanted to comment on that because I have called Caitlin Clark for at least a year, the female version of Pistol Pete Maravich, because she passes the ball in many of the same ways that he did, and I did watch him play several times. So she is just incredible, and it's a testimony to the athleticism that women athletes are obtaining at the levels they are these days.
Hey, Coach, I got a quick question about Pistol Pete. I've seen a couple of highlights. Did he shoot jumpers lefty and righty? Was he able to shoot both ways, or did I just see a couple of things where he just shot lefty once in a while?
That was strictly once in a while.
Oh, gotcha.
He did that for play.
I got you.
No, he did not. He did not do that on a regular basis.
All right.
Coach, how do you think minor league baseball would do here in Panama City?
I think minor league baseball west of the bridge would do very well. I was on a committee with Jimmy Petronas years ago that met with St. Joe Company relative to that, and they wanted to bring in the AA minor league team with the Yankees, and the Yankees wanted to be here, but they couldn't work out where to put the stadium. But it is definitely something that would work and be a tremendous draw, especially with our resort guests in the summer. Like you said a while ago, that's the baseball season, and I'm 100% confident it would go very, very well here.
Where do you think a stadium would be best at on the beach side?
Gosh, you guys were talking about the view earlier, and obviously in town would be better for a view because the cost of land would be less. But St. Joe Company has so much land, they could donate some with a beachfront view, which would be incredible. But it would probably have to be north of town, such as up around Margaritaville or the airport or something like that, I think. Obviously, the views wouldn't be as good, but that location, since it's going to grow so much out there, would be prime, and St. Joe certainly has all the property to do so.
Coach, that's great stuff. We really do appreciate the call. Thank you so much for calling in and giving us your thoughts.
Hey, thank you, and you guys are awesome, and I listen every day, and I just appreciate everything you're doing.
Wow, that's really high praise. And one thing, so I said, what did I say earlier or whatever? Would it, or you know what I mean? Would it draw? Well, here's the other thing. David don't know everything, and I'm going to listen to people. I'm going to listen to people who's got some wisdom and got a lot more time on this earth than me. And if he thinks that it will draw around here, then I'm right there with him. And I never knew that little tidbit there that we were that close to. Hey, I don't care which Major League Baseball franchise it would be attached to. I don't care if you say, you know what, we're going to make a Puerto Rican baseball team and they're going to be right here in Panama City. I'm cool with that. I despise the Yankees. I would love to have a Yankees franchise right here, or not a Yankees franchise, but a Yankees AA, single A team, make up a new letter team and bring it here. If we were to have some sort of and that would be another one of those entertainment things. I know you brought up like it would be another place to go drink or whatever, and you weren't saying it like that. Yeah. But for me, that's a place that I can go and like look forward to doing something that I don't got to go drink at, because honestly, as someone who has stopped that activity, I look around and it's like, what can I even do without that being the thing that I'm going to do with something else around it? Yeah. Bone Crusher, chime in.
Well, if you're not all liquored up, how are you going to storm the field?
As long as I'm staying.
Say we've never done that sober, right?
I wonder if anyone has ever stormed a field sober.
Probably not.
Probably not.
It's a very low ratio.
Very low ratio, man. Oh my goodness. The trivia question, I had this yesterday, and I'll be interested to know, because we got to talk a little hockey, don't we? Yeah. How about those daggone Tampa Bay Lightning last night with a 6-3 win over the Colorado Avalanche? It was very interesting because you got Nate McKinnon and you got Nikita Kucherov, who are running away with the points race, and they were very close. And Nikita was very close last night to a hat trick, and they were doing one of those things that I dislike. And I was actually watching the Avalanche broadcast of it, and let me talk on that for a second, because I don't know how many times I've watched other broadcasts, and they're so far on their team, and and that's how they should be. Can I just give a little bit of kudos to the Colorado Avalanche, who were not in any way biased, and were like, when Kuch or when Stammer would make a good play, or Braden Point, no matter who it was, they were like, that was a really good play, look at what he did here. So I honestly enjoyed watching the Colorado Avalanche side of the broadcast last night. That was really cool. Interesting race as well. We'll get back to the Bolts in just a second after I ask the trivia question, because I know I've got your interest is peaked now, right, Stay Chris? Of all the teams in the NBA, the NFL, Major League Baseball, or the NHL. Only one team, and I have not researched to find out if this is correct, but we are going to go with the answer that I have here. Only one team nickname, not where they're from, has 4 different vowels in it. Which one is it? And let's see how long this takes. Please don't Google this because it'll be more fun with wrong answers of all the teams. And guess what? There's plenty of wrong answers here, but you've got a lot of teams to choose from, right? We're talking about the NBA, the NFL, MLB, or the NHL. Of all the teams out of those 4 leagues, only one team has 4 different vowels in it. Which one is it? Do you have a guess?
Not at the moment. I'm trying to think of what.
4 different vowels. So it's A, E, I, O, or U. You got 5 vowels. It's got 4 of them in there.
My favorite question back in the day was something we were wasting time on the baseball field is name all the different NBA teams. This isn't the trivia question, everyone. That don't have S's at the end of their mascot. So you're looking for the verbs.
Okay. All right. So, man.
Two of them are in Florida, actually.
Okay. So Magic and Heat, boom. And there's 4 teams?
I think there's 4 teams. Yeah, I think it was 4.
So Magic and Heat, that was a very good tip. I love good tips, man, because when it just eliminates the thinking process out of it, that is great. So I'm just trying to go through teams in my head right now, and Grizzlies has got S. How about those Grizzlies last night taking down the Bucks without like half of their team? Magic, Heat. Ooh, I'm going to have to stew on that one during a break, I think.
It's me playing a saxophone.
Okay,
right
so the Jazz, boom, man. Hey, you know what? We need to play some charades one time together because I think we might take some people down if we had a charades championship here in Panama City. Oh, Brian Graham says Timberwolves. I don't know if he was talking about that with this particular one because that's got an S in it. Timberwolves does.
Yeah, but is he talking about no, because you wouldn't have read it if it was yours.
Oh, yeah, no. Well, that does have no. That's only got 3 vowels in it.
Yeah, it doesn't have an A.
E, and O. So it's got to have 4 vowels.
Yeah.
4 vowels. NBA, NFL, MLB, or NHL there. And we will. I'm not gonna bring this trivia question with us into next week. So, but all right. So we got the Jazz, we got the Magic, and we got the Heat. And the Spurs is not one of those teams. Now I'm just gonna pick up the. I'm gonna go to the NBA standings.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to the NBA standings.
It's not the Lightning.
Not the Lightning,
but what happens after Lightning?
Oh, okay, out of Oklahoma City. All right, I got you. Good, man. I feel like this is the inside drive right now. Like this is awesome, and I love being the one who's like got to guess them or whatever.
Yeah. I forgot it. I was thinking about. I was just going through the different affiliations, obviously, but little things you do to keep yourself busy on a baseball field. I had a buddy that played minor league baseball, and you just spend so much time in the dugout. You're just trying to think of things to do to keep yourself occupied while you just wait for game time.
What was y'all's favorite game to play? Did y'all have like a wall ball or something like that? Was there something that y'all all got together that it was a competition? I feel like with that smirk that you're giving, like it's something like, is this safe for radio?
No. So a couple different things. One, there's a game called 2-ball where everyone's got a ball and you're trying to throw it around to each other. Got a big group in there, and so someone throws you the ball and you're constantly throwing it around and you try to catch them both at the same time with both hands.
Oh yeah.
And then another one's where you can't use your hands at all. You gotta. Like a hacky sack in essence. But my favorite game, which never really caught on, but it was me and the head athletic trainer, was we had a wooden bench, and then there was a gap in the middle of the wooden bench. And our goal was to fling the ball and try to get it to as far of the bench as we possibly could without it falling off.
Yeah.
Sort of like the football, like paper football.
Yeah.
And so you had to put backspin on it, and you try to do all these fancy things, and it's just, I didn't play a lot, so obviously we thought of these things, but yeah, that was fun. Just
it's kind of like pool when you're you gotta bank it off of the far cushion and try to get it close without touching the next cushion.
Yeah. So that was a fun game to play. Another fun thing that I couldn't do, but we had this kid on my team named David Kapka. And it was really windy my first year at Wright State, and we obviously, we don't have a grounds crew, so he rode the tarp one time on the waves. We were all pulling it, and he was just riding the tarp like it was a surfboard. He was just going up and down.
How heavy is that thing?
You got to have everybody. You got to have everybody. Like, you got to have at least 30 people doing it.
So after you've done it, do you have like a heightened respect, if you will, for the grounds crew when they're doing that, and especially having to do it like as fast as they possibly can?
Yeah, because you got to be on top of you, because it's like you're only doing it when it's wet and you're not wearing your cleats, so you're wearing like normal tennis shoes, so like you slip and someone's in it, and then especially when it's windy out, man. There'd be someone be like, "Let go," because if you held on to it, you were flinging up in the air because of how much the wind was going.
One time I was tarping a roof after the hurricane. It was actually the business that I was working at the time, and it was a really windy day, and I had to let go at one point because it was starting to like lift me up, and I was like, I just don't know if the hole in your roof is worth my life right now.
No. Oh man, but yeah. So tarping the field was always fun, and then. But, if the game was called, you'd do some tarp slides. That was always fun. We'd send freshmen out. We had a game called one time. We had the opposing team's freshmen versus our freshmen doing different things. We had this one guy who was one of our starting pitchers, but he was still a freshman. His name was Michael Wojtek, and he went out there. Have you heard the song "I'm So Crispy"? It's from like 10, 15 years. Anyways, he did this certain dance to it, but it was just... all of it's entertaining because everyone's just trying to get by and go on. Because, we had this one guy named Chris Hoyles. He was in the big leagues for a little bit. They used to play locker room hockey with each other. They get tape balls.
Did you ever? We used to have like little mini goals and little mini sticks, like floor hockey. I saw this kid. His mom put him down in the basement. Not put him down in the basement. He was down in the basement, and he built like his mom. His mom told him not to play hockey in the house or whatever, and he ended up putting up netting around, built up little walls out of poster board and everything, and turned his basement into a little floor hockey rink. And I thought that was so cool, man. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. All those little things, but just all the different little memories that come flooding back, and it's really cool. But what was your bat? What was your go-to bat? Was it provided by the school, or did you guys have your own choice? How'd that work out? No, they were provided by whoever was the sponsor. I think we were Easton the first year, but then we went to DeMarini. I personally still have a composite 30. Okay, so composite, for people that don't know what composite wooden bat is normal wooden bats are just one full wooden bat, but they're very expensive and they break easily. Like, people that don't know, like, wooden bats, especially when you're facing high-end pitching, will break if you don't know how to use it. First of all, you got to hold it the right way. You got to make sure that you're going with the grain on it. The label up or the label down. You can't have the label facing where the ball is going to be. So I still have a 34-31 composite in my house. So composite's just it's not wood necessarily, but it's made to not break, basically. Yeah. So, DeMarini sponsored us, so I had a couple 34-31 DeMarinis, and then I have a green and white glove that we got made specially for us because they were trying to make gloves that look specifically for the team. Mm-hmm. Like Kent State had like a golden and blue one. We had a green and white one. Also, we got to try out the they made, for a certain point in time, contact lenses that were for they were like sunglasses. So they were orange. So I had like an orange pair of prescription sunglasses that we wore. And so I had dudes that wore sunglasses and those. So it was cool. Like, we didn't get a lot of cool stuff, like Wright State, we get some cool stuff. But we got to try some stuff out, which was cool. But gloves are super expensive now. So we got like $300 gloves for free. Not all, like just one,
Are gloves more than $300 now?
I don't think so, but they could, I think
they could be.
It's one of those things where it's one of those things where even with inflation, still like, all right, well, I don't know if anyone's going to buy a $400 glove or a $500 glove.
We'll find out. Exactly. We'll find out. I remember when, and I'm sure it was the same way for you in Little League. There, like $50 or so for a bat, maybe even cheaper than that. And then it hit that when that Omaha started coming out.
Yeah.
Well, maybe like the Black Magic was one of the first like kind of name brand, but it wasn't to that level yet. When that Louisville, that gold Omaha came out, man, I think that's when the prices just started.
As soon as, like, I remember I had people call it drop, whatever, like a drop 10, but we called it minus, like a minus 10.
Drop, same thing. We called it drop.
Yeah, so I had like a 3121 that I just found, like this blue, like this teal one, and I raked with that thing, man. Like, I don't even remember buying a Little League bat, to be honest with you. I do remember, starting to buy the ones with the thicker barrels, but, like Little League is just one of those things, and everyone could use the same bat too, Like, it's like you're not worried about it breaking.
We were worried about that thing breaking at all, but one time it wasn't like one of the it was an older aluminum bat, but we broke that playing outside.
Yeah.
It took a while.
That's the thing though about being up north is that my buddy, who's he's with Mississippi State, he's gonna hate me for saying this. He had a bases loaded. He had a 3-0 count, and our coach gave us the take sign. Gave him the take sign.
Pop up.
No, breaks his bat, hits a grand slam. And coach is like, Coop's like, hey, I gave you the take sign. And he's like, oh, sorry, I missed it. And he came back and he told us, like, some pitchers are just too good to take.
Well, I guess when you get away with it, but I'm sure coach was still like, hey, when I tell you take, I tell you to take. Yeah.
He's one of the guys that, like, okay, so there's those people that if they miss the bus is going to wait for them. And then there's people that if they miss the bus is going to go.
Yeah.
I was one of those. If I missed the bus was going to go. He was one of the ones, like, we're going to wait for him.
Yeah. Something must have happened there. We'll go through some on this day, and then we'll get to a break, and we'll try to get into some college baseball.
Can I take the first one?
Yeah, absolutely. Start it off, Rice Day Chris.
All right, I apologize to anyone that's native to Iceland out there, but in 1899, Knattspflag Reykjavik
yeah.
Iceland's first football club is founded.
And that is the only reason I even put that in. I was like, one of us is going to give our all trying to pronounce this name. In 1953, Ted Williams safely crash lands his damaged Panther jet, later awarded the Air Medal.
In 1984, Bill Johnson becomes first American to win an Olympic downhill skiing gold at the Sarajevo Games, beats Swiss Peter Mueller by 0.27 seconds.
In 1985, the New Jersey Devils score their fastest hat trick in only 42 seconds.
In 1989, Red Sox pitcher Roger Clemens signs for a 3-year contract for $7.5 million.
Talk about inflation. Roger Clemens getting signed for 3 years.
Are you talking about his hat size?
Yeah. I guess there's two definitions of inflation inserted there. 1991 U.S. Female Figure Skating Championship won by Tanya Harding.
Why me? Oh, wait, that's the other one. All right. In 1992, the L.A. Lakers retire Magic Johnson's number 32 uniform.
In 1997, the 39th Daytona 500, Hendrick Motorsports posts a 1-2-3 finish with Jeff Gordon winning the race ahead of Terry Labonte and Ricky Craven.
In 2001, Matthew Schneider of the Los Angeles Kings becomes the first defenseman in history to score a goal against all 30 NHL teams as L.A. beats Minnesota 4-0.
I wonder if Hetty's getting close to scoring against all, 32 NHL teams now?
You have to look and see who he hasn't played against, but he's been there for, he's been there since like 14, 13, something like that.
I want to say 13.
Yeah.
Maybe longer than that.
He was right after Stamkos, though.
Yeah.
So it would have been like 10, 11, 12, somewhere in there.
And finally, 2005, the 2004-2005 NHL season is canceled by Commissioner Gary Bettman. First time a North American professional sports league has called off a season due to the labor dispute. But let's just be honest, it's because a team from the South, the Tampa Bay Lightning, had just won the Stanley Cup. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, a little college baseball, maybe a little Tampa Bay Lightning when we return.
ESPN Northwest Florida. We're taking the inside drive.
Did you know that the Super Bowl halftime performers do not actually get paid? David did. I didn't know that.
just recently I figured that out, and that's basically because of all the promotion that they get out of it.
Yes, it's what they're getting paid is that brand equity and brand awareness. Apple Music pays the NFL $50 million.
Join Ryan Mulvey.
Thank you very little.
Middays 11 to 1 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida this Friday. For tonight, very light rain and a low of 57 with a light breeze out of the south around 6 miles per hour. Tomorrow morning, very light rain with temps around 61. In the afternoon and evening, lightly raining with a moderate breeze and a temperature near 61. Moving into Sunday, a little colder with a high of 55 and some clouds. This forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hey folks, Chris Kramer with Bill Kramer GM. And the best place to listen to the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey is inside a brand new vehicle from Bill Kramer GM. And I want you to know we've got 10 times the amount of inventory on the ground as we did this time last year, and darn near all of them are discounted. So shop us online at BillKramerGM.com or visit us the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd. We'll make it easy and take great care of you.
Ellis Agency Insurance has been serving Panama City and Bay County for years. They offer a full line of affordable insurance coverage of all types. Many people are attracted to Ellis Agency Insurance because of their friendly, knowledgeable staff. Call independent agent Johnny Ellis for a true comparison of your personal or business insurance. Ellis Agency Insurance at the Old Cullen Insurance location, 1134 Harrison Avenue, across from Dandy Donuts and Deli. Call 763-1627.
When the sun sets on the Emerald Coast, the freaks come out and play.
Hi, I'm a recovering crackhead.
Hand me that shotgun.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
Get on your knees!
ESPN Northwest Florida.
And you are back in the doghouse. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. We are the Afternoon Underdogs. This is 104.3 FM here in Panama City and 101.9 in Port St. Joe. I'm David Hayes along with Wright State Chris and the Bone Crusher. Wright State Chris, you were telling me a little bit about the Beta Club and something going on there, and I want to give you the floor here to tell all of us about that.
I appreciate that. So people that don't know, Beta Club's an honor society, and they had a they had a state conference back in January down in Orlando, and they had different competitions that people could be in. And my son Carter and 4 of his friends were in the robotic competition, and they came in 3rd in the state.
Third in the state making robots?
Yeah.
I got a need for a robot around here.
Carter luckily played Minecraft most of his life, so he was the coder. He was the one who coded it. And then his buddy Chaz, his buddy Luke, Hoyt, and Nathan all contributed on. They got 3rd in the state, and they're going to the state. They're going to the National Assembly in Savannah, Georgia, in June. And also my niece Allison, she goes to Mosley. She won 1st place in woodworking. She made a dolphin, and I show you this picture.
Dolphin out of wood?
Yeah, it's crazy. It was huge too. She spent months on it. So yeah, it's pretty cool for them. Good for them. A couple other people. My son goes to Maritime. If people aren't familiar with that, it's where the PCMI Academy used to be. Now it's the Maritime Charter Academy. Good. Not what it used to be. Just going to say that. But anyways, so a couple other people from Maritime. They're sisters that won performing arts. They were one plays a harp, the other one plays another instrument, and then
the cello.
Yeah, and then
does she really play the cello?
No, I'm not, some.
You're like, yeah, whatever. If it's a stringed instrument, it's gonna work.
I'm sure they're good at. They're very proficient at all of them. And then my Carter's friend Johnny just won being a good dude. Like he just won a prize for being a good guy. So I don't know.
That's like a good sportsmanship or a good.
Exactly. And if you know Johnny, Johnny's a great dude. Like, you couldn't ask for a better friend to be with your son, you know?
There you go.
And then also, another thing we got going on this weekend is my wife, she's a cottage baker, 850 Bakes, and there's a big food truck / craft beer event going on at Aaron Besson Park from 11 till 4 on Saturday and Sunday. I heard it's supposed to rain tomorrow, but I only think it's supposed to be about a 1/4 of an inch of rain. So, you know, it's just going to be on and off like it is today, hopefully. $10 at the gate. $5 if you go online. Kids under 12 are free. So a lot of big things going on this weekend. That's my favorite event. We sell a lot there. There's everyone there is looking to enjoy it because there's not a lot of events like that food truck festival that happen on the beach. Mm-hmm. They don't have a lot of farmers markets on the beach either. So anytime the public can come out, and they just really enjoy it. So very exciting. And like I said, shout out to all the Beta Club members and good luck to them in the national event. I'll be in before then. We're going to have we'll have the tournament happening at some point in time. So I'll be in before then to talk about that as well. So.
All right. Well, a little college baseball action here, and the season just getting underway today with some. Are these are just exhibition games today, aren't they? No, the season has started today.
Yes, the actual season starts today, and a lot of northern teams are traveling south to get in warmer weather. I know at Wright State, before we had a turf field when it was grass, we had to practice inside or on concrete for January and February.
I bet those ground balls were wild.
Oh God! Just the fact that the snowplow had to move snow out of the way so we could practice was like. I remember our coaches were from Miami, and he had a donors dinner to go to one night, and he's like, "I'd love to be out here practicing with you guys," and we're like, "Coop, that's bullcrap. It's 20 degrees out here, Coop. You don't want to be out here." But no, a lot of teams take advantage of the fact that they come down north, and like you said, that pitcher from Iowa, you don't know which pitcher is going to be legit. Skeens was at Air Force for 2 years before Paul Skeens, LSU's last year #1 overall pick. He was at Air Force for 2 years before LSU. How should we say it? The NIL came in.
They gave him a proposition to come on over and pitch for the Tigers, and hey, it worked out pretty well for him. I think ending his career on top in more ways than one.
Yep.
So actually more ways than two too. I mean, Livy Dunn as well added into the mix there.
There's a lot of income coming into that family, that couple. It's not as big as the Swelsey, but it's
the Swelsey. I don't know if I've even heard that yet. Called a Swell. You know what? Kudos to Taylor Swift. So we've talked a little bit about that shooting that happened, which they did charge 2 juveniles today, as well as the other adult. 3 people were involved, but Taylor Swift gave $100,000 to the family of the DJ that was the one sole person who was killed in this situation. So kudos to Taylor Swift. A lot of people want to say negative things about her, and you're entitled to your opinion or whatever. It is what it is, but hey, actions speak a little bit louder than words.
I hope that's just the tip of the iceberg for donations that come in. obviously hers is the most prominent name, but I hope a lot of other people follow through because, obviously people can't give $100,000, but, just giving like $20, $30, $40, a lot of that, the community will come around them and help out. And I did see on the news that it was some bystanders. It was a husband and wife.
Yeah, Gottlieb was right.
Yep, twice now. Not about Freeman, but no, some bystanders tackled one of the kids, and the husband wrestled the gun away. So
and the wife got the gun, didn't she?
Yeah, it's crazy. I couldn't imagine being in that spot, but I guess the adrenaline just kicks in, and it's just unfortunate. And I don't want to say obviously someone lost their life, but if they stop allowing people to celebrate in open areas, and I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but after 9/11, I went to a lot of sporting events. I went to Michigan, Ohio State for the first time that year. I wasn't worried for my life, but I thought about it, and I never thought about that before. I've been to a bunch of Braves games as a kid, been to a bunch of different sporting events that I never thought about ever being an issue, but I thought, especially in America, where are you going to find the most amount of people, and it's especially on a college, event, but it's terrible. But anyways, you got to keep your head up, got to keep on going, and then, celebrate when you can. But yeah, so good. Shout out to Taylor Swift.
Yeah, it does stink that the whole purpose of that is a celebration, and it turns into something that is the opposite of a celebration, and it's all because of a dispute. And I hate it. I hate it that you go to celebrate something and because Taylor Swift's going to be there. Like, like I've heard people say that. It's like, come on, dude. Like, yes, more people are there because the opportunity maybe, and I don't even know if she was there or not. I don't think she was.
I think she was in Japan.
Yeah.
I think she went back on her tour.
I don't think that she was there, but, more people were there, so that's going to happen. I mean, you can't control what it is that's going to happen, and kudos to the fans who stepped in, and to some extent, I mean, not to some extent, they did. They put their lives on the line in that situation, not knowing what could have happened, what could have transpired. So some real heroes right there. And let's just try. The only thing that we can do is ourselves try to do better.
Yeah, exactly. Look out for your fellow man and don't try to be bringing them down. Let's uplift everybody.
So college baseball starting today. Give me some teams that maybe you got your eye on. I've got the college baseball Central Top 25 in front of us. Wake Forest, Florida, Arkansas, LSU, TCU, Tennessee, Oregon State, Vanderbilt, Texas A&M, and Texas make up your top 10. But are there any teams that you're like, hey, I've been hearing this about them. Watch out for them.
I was just doing a little digging the last week or so, and Wake Forest has the number 1 transfer class this year. Arkansas has the number 1 freshman class. So, I've been reading about a couple of different hitters. There's a hitter at West Virginia that's very good. There's obviously the first baseman for Florida, Jack Caglione. He's exceptional. He's a I don't know if he's going to be drafted for a pitcher or drafted as a hitter, but he is a definite two-way player. He's their 3-hole hitter, and he was their last year. He was their number 2 starter. He was their number 3 starter. But if you're a weekend starter in the SEC, you're a stud. So Wake Forest, obviously they're ranked number 1. I mean, Wake Forest. But they brought in a lot of transfers. They brought in one of Tennessee's best pitchers. He's in there. So Oregon State. Like when I was at Wright,
I've been hearing a lot about them this year.
Well, when I was at Wright State, we played out at Corvallis in a regional, and they ended up winning back-to-back national championships that year. So I've always got a spot in my head for, Oregon State. And they always bring in top-tier talent. Adley Rutschman, I think, was he the rookie of the year? I don't know if he wasn't the rookie of the year. I know he was up there in the voting, but he was at Oregon State. And so,
I got to look that up right now because I'm like, was he Rookie of the Year or was that 2 years ago?
Oh, yeah, it might have been 2 years ago. But, he's an Oregon State guy. But, it
was Gunnar Henderson.
Oh, Gunnar Henderson.
So another Oriole.
Yeah, the Orioles, yeah. And then, obviously, I've got I got connections to Indiana. I've got connections to Mississippi State. I play with both of the guys that are coaches that are different coaches. One's a head coach, one's a pitching coach. But the SEC is so dang difficult. Any of those teams could, whoever's hot at the right time, they could come out. But just looking through this line, I like the fact that Coastal Carolina's back. That coach has been there forever. He's that's his first head coaching job. And the fact that he's still there is just kudos to him for doing that. And then, Kentucky's on the rise. Indiana's on the rise. It's difficult in the Big Ten. No one wants to come to cold weather baseball. So it's just the Big Ten's always going to be kind of difficult to play in, but sometimes they get some top end talent. It's just I don't know if they can keep it now. Like you said, Iowa has a stud pitcher. Well, how long is he going to be at Iowa for? Is the first thought that comes into my head. So,
I'm sorry, I got distracted over here. I got to show you this video. Boston Tim just tagged me in this video of this dude picking up a badger, and you'll see he said, "David Hayes, what are you doing, bro?" No one else is going to be able to see this, but if you go to my Facebook page, you will be able to see it. Doesn't that guy kind of look like me, though? He said, "David Hayes, what you doing, though?" And then when I looked at it, I was like, man, was that me in a past life or something? So Boston Tim hit the nail on the head. If you were to give me your favorite to win it all, who would it be? And Caglione is probably your player of the year, right?
Yeah. From what I've been seeing, Wake Forest has the best pitching staff, and pitching just goes so far. Like, if you remember back to last year's College World Series, LSU won in extra innings against Wake Forest. It was a 2-1 ball game or a 3-2 ball game that ended in extras. So they were, technically Wake Forest was like 1 out away from being, representing the one side of the bracket. So you got to go with the pitching, which is Wake Forest. I don't believe in Arkansas's head coach. They've had multiple chances to either be the best team, or they've been able to win it, and they were 1 out away from beating Oregon State about 5 or 6 years ago, and they didn't. So I'm never a believer in Arkansas. We're just looking at this list. Oregon State, they can always get hot. Texas has been a minute since they've won it. NC State really had a good thing going a couple years ago, and then COVID took it out of them. They lost Tommy Batts, obviously.
Tommy Tanks.
Tommy Tanks, that's it. Just looking at it and everything, I take a couple out of the Big 12. You got OK State in there, but if you give me one team, I'm going to go with the pitching. I'm going to go with Wake Forest.
All right, Wake Forest to get her done. I just Dallas Baptist. Anytime I see that name, I'm like, man, I would love to see them. Campbell's another one of those small schools that whenever it comes to baseball time and you get a little bit closer to those regionals, which we're not close to yet, man. Yeah. We just got the season started, but it's exciting. And before I start diving into college baseball, man, right around the corner, March Madness is going on. So I got to do my due diligence with college basketball as we get closer. And we need to, man, March Madness is just a little bit away, bro.
It's crazy how, once football ends, it seems like, oh, college basketball's here. But it's been going on since October.
Yeah, I know.
And conference tournaments are just about to start,
right? I don't hate it because it is what it is. You can't just stop sports because football's on. We got to stay here with football.
Yeah.
But there's only so many things that you can kind of put in your mind before it's like, all right, dude, I'm causing myself to go insane by trying to keep up with every single thing. Favorite Major League Baseball player that's not on your team is a question I'm going to try to ask you here in the next segment whenever we get off the line with Coach Rory Kuhn. So be thinking about that. And if you guys have any, text them into 850-215-6290. Your favorite Major League Baseball player that is not on your team. Quick timeout. We'll be right back.
Set your alarm clock to wake up with the Coach Hales Show on ESPN Northwest Florida. In-depth local and college sports from expert insiders and a dash of controversy.
Can be deadly.
Weekday mornings 7 to 9.
Nothing says good morning like a drunken human alarm clock.
You're live from the J. Michaels studio.
We all know he loves the Florida Gators, but that's okay.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
I can control the world.
This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida this Friday. For tonight, very light rain and a low of 57 with a light breeze out of the south around 6 miles per hour. Tomorrow morning, very light rain with temps around 61. In the afternoon and evening, lightly raining with a moderate breeze and a temperature near 61. Moving into Sunday, a little colder with a high of 55 and some clouds. This forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
With over 65 years of combined experience, Instant Replay Sports Cards is happy to help you take your collection to the next level. They carry all the new hobby boxes, signed memorabilia, and supplies. New and vintage cards and Pokemon. They sell and trade cards and are always looking to buy. They're an authorized source for Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, and Leaf cards. Instant Replay Sports Cards is open 7 days a week at 752 West 23rd Street, down from Academy Sports. It can always be reached at InstantReplaySportsCards.com.
ESPN Northwest Florida is an active member of the Panama City Beach Chamber. We want to introduce the newest members to the Beach Chamber: MWR Naval Support Activity, Panama City; Authentica Mexican Grill; Photo Booth 30A; Sage Spa; Pirates Voyage Dinner and Show; and Easy Accounting. Congratulations from the only local sports talk station, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Hometown Sports Talk from hometown hosts.
People are loving it.
We're live and local. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs.
Are you kidding me?
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back into the Doghouse. This is the Afternoon Underdogs. You're tuned into ESPN Northwest Florida. If Ryan Mulvey just so happens to be listening, I'm sure that he knows, but Coastal Carolina is beating George Mason 23-0 in the bottom of the 7th inning right now. That is some wild stuff, but we're going to be talking some basketball here with head coach of the Lady Commodores basketball team, Coach Rory Kuhn. Coach Rory, how's it going?
All good here, guys. Thanks for having me again.
Hey, thanks for giving us some of your time. I kind of want to, Wright State Chris was talking about something in the break, and I want him to lead off with this particular question. Go ahead, Wright State Chris.
Hey, Coach, how you doing today?
All right, Chris, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. So my baseball coach at Wright State, he went to Sac City JUCO in California way back in the day, and they always talked about how JUCO, that the state championship for California was bigger than the national championship for all the rest of the JUCOs. So do y'all play any California teams, or do California teams even make it out of the state of California to play JUCO ball?
They don't even make it out of California. They're their separate entity. So none of the California teams will ever be in the national tournament that we play in. So all the California schools do their own thing, and then everybody else in the country does their own. It's two separate branches of junior college there.
Do you ever wish you could play them or play their champion just to see, or should they, do you feel like they're a little too snooty, or do you have an opinion on that at all?
I don't have an opinion either way, to be honest with you. From what I've known of just being in JUCO for a while and people talking, and also being at D1, was always that the California JUCOs never really measured up to the Florida or the Texas JUCOs. That was always what I heard, So whether there's truth to that or not, I don't really know. And to be honest, I haven't seen a California JUCO basketball team play. I haven't watched any of them, men or women, when I coach both.
Yeah, I like that answer. Very respectful and very just calling it how you see it, Coach, as always. Y'all had a big win versus Tallahassee on Wednesday. No Ozzy Mamadou in that game, but who stepped up for you, Coach?
Yeah, I mean, that was the tough part. Ozzy Mamadou's out, so we just had to have everybody step up. So, I mean, Gabby Robinson Ford had a great night off the bench. I mean, she finished with her first career double-double, 14 points, 10 boards. I think we had all but 2 players in double figures. So, I mean, it was a good overall team effort. It was clicking. We were hitting threes. Taryn Johnson hit a couple threes off the bench, and then, you have the usual suspects, Alicia Murray and Ayani Diaz dos Santos, the Brazilian blur that you like.
Oh, yeah.
She hitting some shots, getting up and down the floor, and Ariel Stevens was huge. I think she had 15 boards on the glass. Somebody's got to grab those rebounds, the Issy being out, for Ariel sucked up a lot of those the other night.
Oh, yeah, that's a huge double for Ariel, with 19 points and the 15 rebounds, and 6 of those being offensive boards, 9 of them being defensive rebounds. But what is the latest on Ozzy Mamadou? How is it a season ender, or are we just kind of taking it day by day?
Unfortunately, in that Chipola game where we suffered the loss, she only played 5 minutes, and she wound up tearing her ACL, so she is done for the year. So that's the hardest part. We shed a few tears in the office with the team, with the kid individually, and we just said, hey, we're going to rally around you. And, we have for the next 2 games. We came out and beat Northwest Florida without her, and then we beat Tallahassee. So, we're 2-0 without her, and we're just, finding a way to step up with the 8 that we got.
There you go, Coach. Talk a little bit about that game against Chipola. It was a loss in overtime, but how many players did you have on the floor at the end of that? So just kind of give us a little insight in how wild that was for you being the head coach there.
Oh, man, it was wild because we were down, back and forth most of the game, and it was close. There was times we were up, and like I said, Issy only played 5 minutes, so she tore her ACL, and she was done. That was early in the right out of halftime, a minute or 2 into the half, and she sat the whole first half because of foul trouble. So you lose your best player, right? And then on top of that, we had 5 players foul out. We finished the game 5-on-3. I've never finished the game 5-on-4, let alone 5-on-3. And it being 5-on-3 with a minute to go, we had it as a 3-point game. I was like, oh my God, in the 3 we took, almost tied it. So, I mean, it was unlike anything I've ever been a part of. I've never seen anything like it. And since the game was so close, I couldn't even get tossed. I couldn't even earn a tech.
What kind of defense did you end up running? Because it's kind of hard to play man when you're down two players there. What kind of defense did you end up employing or deploying?
It was so funny. One of the girls on my team came up and goes, "Coach, are we in 12 defense? You know, playing the 1-2-2." Yeah. And I looked at her and I said, "Hey." I go, I'm a pretty good coach, but I go, there's 3 on the court, so I don't really know what we're doing right now. So just run around and figure it out. I guess we're in a triangle with the 3 of you. So, I mean, it was so funny. I've never been in that situation. It's just like, hey, let's, run around, see what we can do.
That is funny. That's what I was going to say. Were you playing the triangle defense there? But this Saturday, you guys are at Pensacola. What's kind of with 4 games left in the regular season, what's the focus for your team down the stretch?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, obviously for us right now, I think it's still, we got to rally around not having a seat. Everybody else has got to step up and, just stay focused. It's the last round of Panhandle play, which is, why it's the best conference in the country, and it's so hard when you play everybody 3 times.
Oh, wow.
So we always used to call this the war round. Everybody knows what you do. You know what they do. It's just like a matter of who wants it more. Going on the road, Pensacola's a tough place to play. So it's just like, I think they're still ranked 14th in the country, so it's just like, hey, don't lose your focus, Let's go in there, and you got to really, really compete. You got to get a road win in conference, and that's always tough to do.
And I'm sure you guys are taking it one game at a time, one day at a time, but I can't help but to look ahead and see there on March 2nd, on that Saturday there, you're going to be ending the season against Northwest Florida State College, which is a great opportunity, even though they'll be right here at the house against Chipola next Saturday, the 24th. But 2 Saturdays in a row, we got to get out there and support Gulf Coast and the Lady Commodores as they wrap this season up, because that's going to be, you guys you've already taken down Northwest Florida State College every time that you played them this year, but you know that they're going to be treating you guys like you got a target on your back for that final one.
Absolutely, it's coming. It's the way it ends too. It's the perfect way to end the season, and you got the 2 best teams going head to head again, and like I said, the target will be on our back, and we just got to kind of be ready for it. I mean, we've had some great games so far this year against each other, and just got to keep competing. I think like I've said all along, we're definitely probably the 2 best teams in the conference, if not the 2 best teams in the country.
Does your offensive philosophy change at all, or even defensive, not philosophy, but game planning change with Ozzy Mamadou out?
Yeah, you got to make up for it. The coaching standpoint, I'm going in my head, well, how am I going to make up 18 points and 14 rebounds? And, you basically can't, but it's just the matter. I told the girls, hey, as long as everybody steps up in the rebounding department, I'm not worried about the scoring. But if we can all up our rebounding a little bit, we'll figure out the scoring and we'll be fine. But yeah, there's adjustments that obviously you got to make. You go out and you don't have the best, post player in the country anymore. Obviously that makes a bit of a difference. But sometimes you got to tweak a couple things. Maybe play a little more zone. Maybe change up some lineups. Go smaller at times, then go bigger. You never know. You just got to kind of mix it up. And I'm still figuring it out myself. It's only 2 games fresh, so far so good. So hopefully we keep it going.
I love it, Coach. We're going to finish up this segment here, but thank you so much for giving us some of your time and giving us an update on your team. And I mean, when I got the text that you guys finished up with 3 people and took it to overtime, I was like, that just shows, I hope that you guys don't drop any in the rankings, because that needs to be that needs to be looked at like 3 on 5, 3 on 8 at that point in time, or how many ever were on the bench there for Chipola. I mean, that was just incredibly impressive, Coach. And your best player was off of the floor. I mean, great job coaching. Great job by your ladies there. And we look forward to supporting you here. Good luck tomorrow. Good luck tomorrow at Pensacola State.
I appreciate you guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, that's Coach Rory Kuhn. He is the head ball coach, the head basketball coach for the Lady Commodores. Again, they're in Pensacola tomorrow, but next Saturday they've got Chipola right here at the house. Then Wednesday they're on the road at Tallahassee, and they finish the season up March 2nd against Northwest Florida State College. And that was 1v2 the last time they played. I'm not sure about national rankings anymore, but Northwest Florida State College is right there behind Gulf Coast when it comes to the Panhandle Conference rankings. So great stuff there, man. And again, anytime that you're going to be with 3 people on the floor taking on 5, the only other instance that I know about is Alabama-Minnesota 2017, which was a little different, and Alabama didn't take Minnesota to overtime in that game. It was a close loss, but they did not take Minnesota to overtime the way that the Lady Commodores took Chipola and almost ended up winning that game. High praise there for the Lady Commodores. All right, that question that we left off with, who's your favorite baseball player that doesn't play on your team? Who's your favorite baseball player that's not an Atlanta Brave?
Can I give you 3?
You can give me, we've got 5 minutes here. Give me 5 of them and take a minute for each of them and explain.
I got a question for you, but it's a hockey question later on. All right. So, Kyle Schwarber.
All right.
I watched him come up as a Cub. I lived in Illinois for about 2 to 3 years, and he came up, and that's when they beat I remember him hitting the home run against the Cardinals. And I'm not a Cubs fan, but I was getting a bunch of my buddies are Cubs fans, so I was feeling the spirit with them. And he's from Ohio. He went to Indiana. He was in the College World Series, and the next year he was playing in the playoffs for the Cubs. So that's crazy that they come up there. So, and he's from Middletown, Ohio, which is in the middle between Dayton and Cincinnati. Love Aaron Judge. You know, he respects the game. He's a good dude. I hate the Yankees. I didn't like Jeter. I mean, you know, like just because they beat the Braves.
Yeah.
But Aaron Judge, not so much. You know, I like Aaron Judge, and I like outfielders with strong arms. And then I mentioned him before, Corey Seager. Just knows out of all the Dodgers, he was the one I hated at bat the most. I didn't care if it was Mookie or whomever. I always thought Corey was the most lethal of all their hitters.
All right. I like that. We'll get to your question for me here in just a second. I'm going to go with 2. I'll give you 2, both of them being shortstops. One is going to be a rival, Trey Turner.
Yeah.
Trey Turner, just because and it would be even more so if he didn't have the pop that he has, because that's what, like, Ozzie Smith was one of my favorite players of all time, even though he was before my time. Rafael Furcal was one of my favorite players of all time because I was a middle infielder and I did not have any pop at all, but you ain't striking me out very often. You know what I mean? I'm going to put the ball in play. And so with that, Trey Turner, and then Bo Bichette for the Blue Jays. Nice. He's a guy that, and I think it's more so the legacy part of it with him being the son of Dante Bichette. But yeah, Bo Bichette is a guy that I like.
I'll be interested to see what Drew Jones does once he gets up to the big leagues.
Yeah, man. Didn't he have that card out there that was had a big bounty on it or something like that?
Yeah, you're asking.
Okay, all right. You can ask me the question.
All right, I give you. Okay, so 2 questions. I give you $1,000. Who you put in futures Conn Smythe?
Oh, Conn Smythe, don't even know what the playoffs are right now. Man, I almost want to go with Pasternak.
Okay.
From the I would take anyone from the Bruins, even though the Lightning did beat the Bruins in overtime the other day. It's just with the heartbreak that they had last season to roll into this season in the same exact manner, playing the same way that they did. It would be really hard to see heartbreak, or it wouldn't be really hard for me to see their heartbreak.
Yeah, no.
But because of how well they played, and I just think that it's Boston's year this year. It's been a while for them, so I would go with Pasternak.
All right, I'll give you a lesser sum of money for more of a dark horse. So $100, who are you going to put as the Conn Smythe?
I'm just curious if the Bolts have what it takes this year, defensively speaking. I know that they've got the offense. That's never been a question. You go back to when we got swept by the Blue Jackets. They had the offense, but the problem was they didn't have the physicality. So then I want to go to another team. Oh, man. Is Aho still with the Hurricanes?
I think so, yeah.
I'll go with that. That's my knowledge of, like, the obscure players in hockey is not the deepest of them.
I'm just going to answer Andre Vasilevsky for everything.
Okay. Hey, I like that. I don't think there's anything. Did you see those unis last night?
No, I did not. I got to look at them.
The third alternate unis, it's a black jersey with like a blue and white stripe.
Does it look like they're old black ones or just completely different?
I would say it's almost like a it's not like a version of that because you don't got the big logo necessarily. Okay. It's almost just like a club jersey, if that makes sense, where it's like says Tampa Bay Lightning. It almost looks bland, but the colors pop to it.
Yeah, going back to what you were saying, like last year, like it just seems with the Lightning, especially last year, like and even going back to the series with Colorado, like they weren't winning overtime games. They weren't holding 1-goal leads in the third when that's what they would do. You could always count on them for having the overtime goal, but Palat's not there, you know?
Right. And that's what the difference was that third and fourth line. Like now, you've got the studs in lines 1 and 2.
Can Chernak stay healthy?
Yeah.
Because last year
Sergachev's already went down. He ain't coming back this year more than likely. So, it will be interesting. I just don't know. I don't know what kind of a run the Bolts can make this year.
Do you have the heart to watch 7? Oh, man. It's like watching them play. Sometimes you're just like, oh, and then my dad's a Wings fan, so like anytime we get to playoff hockey and you're watching these long drawn out series, you're just like pins and needles the whole time. But you love it. You love it and you hate it at the same time.
You love it and you hate it at the same time, man. It's just something we got to deal with. You guys y'all have a great weekend. Coach James Hill Show is going to be live at 7 in the morning on Monday. The Inside Drive back Monday at 11, and we'll see you at 4 on Monday. Y'all have a great weekend. Just remember, Jesus loves you, so do I. And go see Wright State Chris and his wife out there at Aaron Besson Park tomorrow.
Go Bolts.
ESPN Northwest Florida. It's the Coach James Hale Show.
Chad Mitchell will be making an appearance back on Monday.
Chad is
He's been
traveling
gone for
the
2
world.
weeks now.
He's